Here's the bridegroom. Hey everyone, we're here with Robert today, who's going to give us a Bible study. I believe it's on the disciples, correct?
Discipleship, disciples, basically. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
More specifically about, how he chose his disciples, how they ended up becoming his disciples.
Yeah, that's part of it because the gospel contains records of Jesus calling his disciples that they can actually be pretty confusing. But the key to understanding his calling of his disciples is to read all four gospels, not just one, and then we can piece all the records together. And it's also important to have some knowledge of the first century culture, especially like the rabbinic practices, what it was like to be a proselyte or a disciple of a rabbi. And but it's really easy just to put four quick little passages together, one in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all four of them, the three synoptics and John, to actually look and find out that most of the people's understanding, Christians' understanding of how Jesus chose his disciples are kind of inaccurate, I guess. So, and to go on to find out what it is actually mean to be a disciple today of Jesus.
Well, I I've looked into this whole rabbi with disciple thing before. I've kind of just like glimpsed at it. I haven't actually like dived deep into it. But my understanding is it's almost like the disciples didn't choose the rabbi chose the disciples, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong on that, or that's kind of the gist I got out of it?
Yeah, that is the gist. Okay, it's but the rabbi did choose the disciples. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll let you take it from here, and I'll pop in with my 2 cents and questions every now and then.
Well,
But
yeah, you got to help me unwrap this. That this is something that needs to be unpackaged for all of us. So,
good, good.
uh,
The
yeah.
floor is yours, brother. The floor is yours. Then.
Well, okay. Well, the first passage I think we probably ought to go to would be Matthew 4:18, and the reason is because it's the first gospel. It's a historical gospel, and as far as a topical wise. So it was written to the Hebrews by Matthew. So sometimes we don't get, say, for instance, when we read any book in the Bible, one of the things that we really, really need to do is understand who the author is,
Right.
who the author is writing to,
Correct.
when this was written, and what was a rudimentary understanding of the culture at that time and that geopolitical, facet of the world at that time. Okay. So what I do is I say, okay, Robert, I'm going to read in Matthew. Okay. Well, Robert, let's see. Let's see. Matthew was a tax collector. He was Jewish. He was writing in the first century. Okay. He was writing when Israel and Jerusalem was under Roman authority. He was writing to Jewish people, not Gentiles, but he was writing to Jewish people, and he's writing about the accounts of Jesus as he walked the earth.
Now,
Okay,
also a
so
little tidbit is Matthew is also the only gospel that I believe scholars think was actually originally written in Hebrew.
no, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right. Yes, yes.
Yes. Although we
This,
don't have any copies of it in Hebrew today.
no, but it has been decided by the theologians, the powers that be, that yes, it was originally written in Hebrew, not in Aramaic. Okay, Aramaic and Greek was the languages of the day. Only a bona fide culture standing Jewish person would actually know the language of Hebrew. Right, exactly. He wrote this in Hebrew for those Jews, which says a lot. Okay, so if he's writing to these Jews already understand the Jewish culture. They understand the practices, the idiosyncrasies, the language. The phrases. Like you said, one time years ago, I remember you saying, "Yeah, I wonder what they're going to say when we, cowabunga, dude."
That was so long ago.
No, but, I mean, it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My son was just all into that. He's 36 years old now, but even today's generation, cowabunga, what in the world are you talking about?
Right.
But the people he was writing to would have been able to understand what, that's a bad catchphrase, but what a catchphrase like that would be.
Well, yeah, just to help people on the other side of the screen understand, I was talking with someone, and the analogy that I used for this instance was the word cool. Like my parents and my grandparents, cool would have meant a description of the temperature. My generation, cool was another way of saying awesome.
Awesome.
But yet, my kids, cool is back to meaning a temperature. So words can change as you go through generations and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What happened, right?
Yeah. What happened? Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pick this up, and let's say that I am a first-time Bible reader, okay, or even a second or third-time Bible reader, but I don't understand the cultures, the geopolitical world at the time, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm looking at Matthew 4:18, and this little, in our Bibles, we have these little headings in front of passages or on top of them, right? When it says Jesus calls his first disciples, okay, and it starts out in verse 18, and it says, and walking by the Sea of Galilee, I'm looking at a bunch of directions because I got a Bible here, got a Bible here, got a Bible there, and I got okay, so just, work with me here. So it says on verse 18, it says, and walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. And he says to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they immediately left the nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, the son of Zebedee, and the boat was Zebedee, their father, mending their nets, and he called them. And immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Okay, no, I am so busy. You need to get on that. Go on, get. I have a needy cat. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, that's staying in the video.
Okay. So, I mean, all right. So, what? And if I'm reading the Bible, what does that tell me? Okay, well, Jesus is walking along the shore of a lake or a sea or some body of water, and he sees a couple of dudes, and okay, come follow me, and I'm gonna make you fishers of men instead of fishers of fish. And then he goes down the way and says, "Oh, by the way, you two follow me." And then they just all, drop their stuff and yes, master. And they
it almost seems as though they've never met this man. He just walks up, "Hey, follow me," and they just drop what they're doing and goes and follows him.
And I'm thinking, well, I mean, I always thought that we all had free will, and all of a sudden I got some rabbi taking over my mind, and now I have to be a zombie. Well, I mean, this behavior of them just dropping their fishing gear and following Jesus seems pretty much reckless. I mean, if we start reading at Matthew 1 and then read until chapter 4, when the disciples left their work, it seems like Jesus never met these cats at all. It's just, okay, so maybe they're thinking, oh, we got a rabbi walking through here saying, follow him. Okay, I'll follow you. Okay, no. I don't care how powerful or how popular a rabbi you are. You're not just going to walk up to somebody and say, okay, quit your job. Let your family starve with me.
Leave everything that you have and come and follow me. Right.
Because let's look at the culture back in that day. Let's look at the area of Galilee, northern Galilee, around Lake Gennesaret. The Sea of Galilee is not a sea. It is a freshwater lake. It is about 8 miles long. It's about 4 miles wide. It's not even a very big lake. So the Sea of Galilee is kind of a little body of water. You have several little fishing towns along that northern and northeastern shore on Lake Gennesaret, the Sea of Galilee, and that thing is being fished out. Okay. Already we're having trouble, getting enough fish just to even pay the Roman taxes that is being imposed on people. Now, this is hand to mouth subsistence at this time. And for you to have a lien or a loan out on a boat, you got a boat that's financed, which was common in that day, and you're up here trying to fish enough to pay your taxes literally and to feed your family. And you want me to follow you because
And maybe just for further context, to me, I know that this was most likely early in the morning because they've come in and they're starting to mend their nets because a lot of fishing was done at night then. So they would have fished all night, and then as the sun was coming up, they would have came in and started mending their nets to end their day. So this is after they spent all night fishing, and now here they are. And then this rabbi supposedly just comes up and says, "Hey, come follow me." Oh, okay.
Right. Exactly. And like you said, they fished all night. And there are a couple of things about that too. They fish all night because if they fished the day before and you had the catch sit all night without, having it packed or preserved in salt or brine, then the fish are really no good at the market the next day. They fish at night. Number one, it's cooler, all right, and this is a warm climate, not really that hot, but it is a warm climate, and the fish are a lot more fresh, and they will get a lot better price at the market right then and there when wives and daughters and go and sell the fish. Okay,
Right.
So you spend all night, and then some high-powered rabbi comes walking by and says, "Come follow me." No, bro, keep on stepping.
No, bro, I'm headed to the house to go to bed. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I don't know who you think you are. Because, obviously, nobody's just going to leave their profession like that and then just go. But the key to understanding what's going on is to actually read all four Gospels. And you got to pay close attention to the details. When we read all four Gospels, what we're going to find out is that Peter, Andrew, James, and John, they already knew Jesus. Now, if you're looking at Matthew right now, at the Gospel of Matthew, well, they never even seen this guy. No, Peter, Andrew, James, and John already knew Jesus. Not only did they know him well, but here, listen to this. They were already his disciples when he called them.
Right.
Actually, as we get into this a little bit further, we're going to find out that he calls them from their boats twice, two different occasions, not once. But the key to those records is to reading Matthew, Mark, and Luke and the Gospel of John, because Luke is the second time that we get to this. Okay, so let's, I'm eating up a lot of time. So, okay, we know that Peter and Andrew were brothers. Okay, Andrew's a young brother of Peter's. They were spiritual men. We already know that. That's something that's obvious from reading John. Okay, if you want to go to John 1, you can always do that. But Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist before he ever met Jesus. Let's go. If you read John chapter 1, you'll know that I'm going to call him JTB, John the Baptist, okay? So JTB, John the Baptist, he was the forerunner, right? Make the way straight for the Lord. That's what he was. Andrew, Peter's brother, was already his disciple before he ever met Jesus. Now, that speaks all kinds of volumes about Andrew as a disciple, not just a listener or someone in JTB's audience. He was his disciple, which means he would have been taught his message about the Messiah coming. And there would have been all kinds of other spiritual things that John the Baptist would have taught about, the religiosity of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all the other C's and, the idiots of the religious leaders of the day. They were spiritually just bankrupt, man. They were crooked. They had no spirituality in them whatsoever. They were about themselves. You know about how the religious leaders were. And John the Baptist was in there calling people out. He was calling Herod out. He was calling Antipas out. He was, hey, you got your brother's wife, and read this on your own. We don't have time to go into that. But John the Baptist was, he was a fiery dude. I wish I could have met him, and I plan on meeting him when I get to heaven. I want to five on that dude so quick it's not even funny, okay? Because he's getting high fives from me because he called him a brood of vipers. Oh man, he would have been teaching his disciples all kinds of the errors of the religious system. And what's really sad, though, dude, is the Bible hardly says anything about the teachings of
Anything
John.
about him, yeah, yeah.
I,
And just to interject here, I've actually spent a little bit of time trying to research, see if there's any extra biblical information about him, and there really isn't any. So there's hardly anything in the Bible or outside the Bible that tells us anything about him.
No, it's not. Josephus doesn't write anything. It's just there's no historical accounts, secular historical accounts on his teaching, and it sucks.
It sucks. It does.
Like he said, I must decrease and he must increase. So that's JTB. But he was a great prophet. We know he was a prophet. And since his disciples were actual, or his followers were really, really disciples, then yeah. One of the first things that he would have taught, though, is remember when JTB's parents, hey, they were wonderful. Remember, the angel says you're going to have a son. He's going to be the forerunner of the Messiah. And dad was a little doubtful, and the angel struck him silent. Now, you ain't going to talk. Okay, read that story. Okay. But one of the biggest things that he would have taught his disciples is that he would have been the forerunner of the Messiah who was to come shortly, because he'd already knew him. He already knew him. He was his cousin. Okay. And when asked who he was, JTB always said, I am the voice of one crying out in the desert, make straight the way of the Lord. Of course, that's from Isaiah 40 something. Okay. So in this context, at the first start of that chapter somewhere, Isaiah 40. Okay. So he's an Isaiah character. Okay. All right. So, and what he's doing and make straight the way. He's talking about roads, in the Near East, the Middle East. I mean, the roads were horrible, kind of like Keokuk, Iowa. I mean, these roads suck. I mean, it just, it freed.
Here in Arlington, Texas. Yeah. Potholes everywhere. The roads are horrible here.
It's a road just like it is here in the USA. It's a small road. Well, the roads were fixed up before any kind of dignitary or important people or kings or anybody like that would come through. And a crier like the town crier or some messenger from wherever the dignitary before the king or the important person would come drive through in their chariot or whatever, in their Rolls Royce chariot or something, they'd run out and they'd start hollering, and then people would go out and fix up the roads real quick. But, they wouldn't do it too soon. They would do it right before they got there because, obviously that it's just going to crumble again on our next hard freeze. It's going to be night after tomorrow. They kind of sort of got to wait until the last minute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they did. But John, when he's yelling, hey, make straight, I'm getting to this because of that, saying he was already pronouncing that means Jesus was right on his heels right then and there. And he was right then and there, right there. Okay. And when Andrew, his disciple, was with JTB, in the Gospel of John, chapter 130 something, 136, I think. Anyway, he points at Jesus while he's doing his thing. JTB's doing his thing. John the Baptist, JTB's disciples are with him, and they're out there baptizing in the River Jordan, and they're dunking people and, squirting water in their nose, doing all kinds of stuff. And all of a sudden he looks up. We have to have fun. All right. This comedy Bible stuff. Okay. So he points out a finger and he says, oh, hey, look at there. There's the Lamb of God. There goes. Yeah, Lamb of God. Right. And then Andrew believed his teacher, obviously, but before going to Jesus, where Andrew went and got his brother Peter. He said, dude.
But can you imagine you're there with JTB and you're sitting there helping baptize people, and then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, hey, look, there goes the Lamb. What?
Yeah.
What is this guy talking about? Just out of the blue,
Just like that. There goes the Lamb of God. Hey, yeah, bye. Okay. And then he goes back to doing his thing. Okay. Cultural. These people have been waiting on the Messiah vehemently for a long time. Okay. They have been conquered by Syria. They've been conquered by Babylon. They've been deported by Babylon. They've been conquered by Assyria. The northern kingdom was deported by them. They've been conquered by Greece. They've been conquered by Persia. I mean, they've been conquered by everybody, and now Rome's got them. Are you with me? They have had the yoke on their back and around their. And with Rome came Roman roads, which were Roman law, which was actually Pax Romana, Roman peace, peace by force. There was order. I mean, they had it together as far as that went. So, but it was huge, huge, huge taxes. They didn't like the Jews didn't like them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now Rome is ruling, and all these people are now underneath the yoke of slavery, for a lack of a better term, and they keep going back to Isaiah, the scroll of Isaiah, and they're looking for the Messiah, the messianic, the warrior conqueror, the conquering Messiah that's going to just wipe the planet of all these people. It's going to elevate Israel on the top of Mount Zion, where all the countries will come and worship them, and they're the top of the food chain, and all the countries are going to just look towards Israel and say, oh, you guys are so great, you're wonderful, we love you, you're the best, and they get to rule the nations, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the Messiah.
The Millennium Kingdom. Right.
They're looking for the conquering hero, this geopolitical, this conquering cultural. I'm going to just go tell Rome to go pound sand and kill. Yeah, that. But see, they missed the suffering servant part of Isaiah. Okay, are you with me? So they are waiting for this Messiah. So back to where we are now. All of a sudden, he says, there goes the Lamb of God. Are you kidding me? We've been waiting for the Messiah for generations, and he's here. He doesn't go to Jesus. He runs and tells his brother Peter, and then they both went to Jesus. And of course, Jesus immediately changed Simon's name to Rock or Peter, or, in Aramaic, it's Peter in Greek, or Rock, and Cephas in Aramaic, Peter in Greek. Cephas in Aramaic, Peter in Greek. They both mean rock. Okay. But another thing, too, though, this is something that we kind of miss. You get your name changed, somebody's got authority over you. Think about it. Anytime that somebody changes your name, he has something over you. He has authority over you. He's got control over you. Abram changed to Abraham. Sarai changed to Sarah. Jacob was changed to Israel. Joseph was Zephaniah Paneah. Rakshak and Benny, their names were changed, and that's, in order to accept this, in order for Peter to accept the name change, he had to accept what Andrew had just told him, the news, which shows us that Peter was also a deeply spiritual man. And he is immediately willing to become a disciple of Jesus. So now we've got Andrew and his brother Peter. This is way at the beginning, John chapter 1. John the Baptist is still here. He's baptizing people in the river. Are you with me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next day, reading John chapter 1, we know that Philip and Nathanael began to follow Jesus along with Andrew and Peter. Now, if we look at the Gospel of John, I'm going to bring this up just because I can. If we look at the Gospel of John, it says there were two of JTB's disciples. One of them is named, it's Andrew. The other one's not named. But the general consensus of every theologian that I've ever read, of every commentary I've ever read, is it was John, the author of John.
No. Every movie you see, that's the way they portray it. Even the Chosen series.
Okay, yeah. But I'm not even going to say that because I don't need to. Because I've got Peter and Andrew following him, and the next day Philip and Nathanael was there. Okay? Now, I want to point out a timeline. This is before John the Baptist was arrested. This was before Jesus started ministering in Galilee. All right? Like John chapter 1, verse 40-something, okay? it's important because it shows that Peter, Andrew, Philip, and Nathaniel were already following Jesus before John was arrested, and this was before Jesus called them from their boats the first time in Matthew 4:18, which I think he wrote down, and also in Mark 1:16. Okay, Jesus called the disciples from their boats after John was arrested, so they'd already been following Jesus for some time. Okay. The record shows that Peter, Andrew, Philip, and Nathaniel were following Jesus. And we can also assume that since James and John were business partners with Peter and Andrew, and they were also deeply spiritual men, that, it's safe to assume that Peter and Andrew, they believed what they said about Jesus as well, when you think about that. Okay. But if Peter and Andrew were following Jesus before John was arrested, why were they fishing still? Why were they fishing when Jesus called them? Think about this, dude. It's no different than it is today. In this culture, a biblical culture, a person could be a disciple or a follower of a specific rabbi without giving up his occupation. Man, dude ain't trying to starve. You still got to work.
Yeah, you still got wife. You still got children. Yeah.
All right, I got to work. I still teach Bible studies. Yeah, I still go to church. I still, I'm deeply involved. Got work.
I have a regular job. I make these videos doing Bible lessons online, but I still have a regular job. I work 8 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Mm-hmm.
So you have to do. Now, some men were full-time disciples. Think it's heavily inferred and from extra biblical literature that Paul, full-time with Gamaliel. If you got the money, you're a Roman citizen, and you got the pedigree, and you got the scholarship, or daddy's got money, yeah, you can be a full-time, what's called a proselyte or a disciple of a rabbi. But no, man, you can be part-time. It's like going to college at night. And a lot of people did that. A lot of the Pharisees actually started as part-time, being disciples of a rabbi. But you still have to live as a fisherman, because if that's your trade, you still got to make a living. You got to feed the family. You just got to do it. So, it's what he was doing when Jesus called him, Peter, and it's like Andrew. Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist. And that's what he was doing when, okay, good. So when they finally figured out that Jesus was the Messiah and became his disciples, they were in Bethany. If you read they were beyond the Jordan where John was baptized, but they still worked for a living. This is before Jesus moved his headquarters up north. This is before Lee. Oh, imagine that. Again, more timeline. So after Jesus moved to Capernaum, right, which was his little headquarters then, Matthew 4:14 right here. Jesus here, now he calls them to sort of intensify, kind of ramp up their discipleship with him, which they did, okay? And Matthew 4:18 and Mark chapter 1 has this also, but I want to read this. It says, he says, as Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, casting a net into the lake, there were fishermen. He says, come, follow me. I need you to pay attention to this. Verse 19, he says, hey, come and follow me, and I will send you out to fish for people. Or come follow me, I will make you fishers of men. Future tense. I will. Follow me. Keep following me. Follow me. I will make you fishers of men. Okay? Now, even after this calling of more intense discipleship, they still have to fish for a living. Okay? But he's telling them, hey, it's time to ramp up a little bit. It's time to go. I need you to start getting on the ball here. You've been following me a little bit, but I need you to follow me. I am choosing you right now. I want you to follow me. I want you to ramp things up. And you follow me, I'm going to send you through seminary school, and then you will become fishers of men. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. So the final time that Jesus called Peter and the other fishermen is in Luke chapter 5. Okay, so if you want to turn there, I want to point out a little something something. It's the first 10 or 11 verses in 5. Luke 5. Okay, now this record is really really different. The scene is, if you're watching a movie, is really really different than what's recorded in Matthew and in Mark. In Matthew and in Mark, Jesus is walking beside the Sea of Galilee, and Peter and the others were in their boats. They're either fishing or they're washing their nets, and the boats are empty, right? And the fishermen are washing their nets from the previous night's work, like we just talked about earlier. They'd already come in. Fish were gone. They're washing their nets. They're doing this. The game's over. They're tired. They worked their 12-hour shifts, and he says, "You need to come follow me." Yeah, he did. But let's put it in the proper perspective. Jesus, knowing that that was the end of their shift, went up to him and says, "Hey, boys, it's time for you to ramp up your game. You need to make some more time for me because I really need to send you through school." Okay? Now, if we go to Luke chapter 5, this time, Jesus is calling them from being part-time disciples to being full-time disciples. And I want you to, okay? As a matter of fact, here, I'll just, thought I had it pulled up somewhere. Anyway, it says Jesus calls them from being full-time disciples. He says, I'll use this Bible. Got too many Bibles out on my lap, dude. All right. Hang on. Luke 5. So Luke 5, he says, okay, one day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, Sea of Galilee, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. Oh, different scene.
Right, he's not walking by, he's preaching. Right.
He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen. They were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. Does this sound anything like, no, it doesn't. Okay. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Okay, well, it didn't say anything. Jesus is telling Simon to go fishing. He's already done fishing. He's done for the day. You want me to go out and do some more fishing? Okay, whatever. Simon answers, says, "Look, we've worked hard all night. We haven't caught a thing. Because you say so, fine. I'll go." Okay, that's my translation. So when they got out there, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat, okay, the Zebedee boys, and they came to fill both boats so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and says, "Go away from me, I'm a sinful man." He and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish, obviously, okay? James and John, the sons of Zebedee, okay? And then Jesus said this to Simon, "Don't be afraid." Listen to this carefully. From now on, from this time forward, from right now, you will fish for people. Verse 11, pay close attention. They pulled their boats up on the shore. They left everything and they followed him. From now on, you will be catching people. That marks the start of these apostles' full-time discipleship. Now they are in full-time missionary school. So this is the time the apostles left fishing for fish to fish for people, and they followed Jesus on a full-time basis. Okay.
So just so we're clear, it went from in Matthew, "I will make you fishers of men," to from now on, you will be fishers of men.
Exactly. Now, I want you to look at something amazing, because this calling here was associated with a heck of a miracle. And a miracle that says 10,000 words, okay? They didn't catch anything all night. And now he's saying, "I want you to follow me full time." And then right before he says, "I want you to follow me full time," he pushes the boat out. They get this such a large thing of fish that's sinking 2 boats and nets are tearing and stuff like that. Listen, this is Jesus' way of saying, "Come follow me. I'm taking care of your family." Don't worry about this. You put your faith in me. Okay. Leave your human wisdom and your human understanding right there in that boat as you leave that boat to your dad Zebedee, or leave your boat, Peter and Andrew, to wherever you want to leave it to, and somebody else will take care of your equipment. They'll take care of your business. I've got this. Look at what I just did. Are you with me? Wisdom and logic are a huge interpretation of, or a huge factor of biblical interpretation. Okay. And right here, if you use a little bit of logic and wisdom, you know what I mean? Because they left thing and followed Jesus doesn't mean that they just walked away from fishing. It means that dad took over or whatever. Okay. But with that big, I mean, a lot was said. Okay. And there it is. So, now we know that at the end of John, when Peter obviously betrays Jesus, first thing he does is go back to fishing.
Go back to fishing. Yeah.
It is a business where you can just sort of, kind of just step right back into it. Okay. But, taking a few weeks or whatever, I don't know. So, and then you got this when Peter says, Jesus says, do you love me more than these? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I guess what's going on here, in summary, what this whole lesson is about is being chosen as a disciple. There's nothing magical, ethereal, mystical, weird going on. Peter, Andrew, Philip, and Nathaniel, and James and John were followers of Jesus before he even lived in Galilee. They were followers of him before John the Baptist got arrested. When he said from now on, and that's, he cultivated a relationship with his friends. He chose them. He developed a relationship with them. He nurtured this relationship, and at the right time, he says, "Man, I need you to come follow me. You're the people that I want to carry on my ministry. You're going to be my disciples." It wasn't some instantaneous and magical type something where a total stranger says, "Follow me," and drop everything. No, it doesn't. And the Bible doesn't say, what happens on the other, like Matthew, for instance. How in the Sam Houston would he pick a tax collector, one of the most hated people, and say, "I want you"? Well, it wasn't, "Oh, hey, I need you to, come with me and, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
No,
In other words, what you're saying is they had ample opportunity to see the evidence, hear his teaching, and come to their own conclusions as to who Jesus might be. And then he said, "Hey, come follow me." And they chose to go follow it.
Well, yes. And the way I look at it is that this is not something magical and something a one-time happening just in biblical days or anything like that. The Bible does not give us details about how Matthew became a disciple. You know why? Because there wasn't anything to write about. It wasn't anything abnormal. Remember, he's writing to the Hebrews. And in that culture, to become a disciple of a rabbi, well, you did this, you did that, you developed a relationship, and you both got along, you passed your test, you did this, you did that, and at the right time, you became a full-time. There was nothing abnormal about it because the Bible doesn't say there's anything abnormal about it. Does the Bible, from an author writing to similar people in his culture, need to explain anything?
No.
Does Luke need to explain a few things to the Gentile named Theophilus that he wrote the gospel for? Yeah, he does. He needs to explain a few of these Jewish cultural inferences to the great Theophilus, which was the receiver of his gospel, Luke and Acts. Matthew is writing to Jews in Hebrew who understand.
Who don't need that, right?
So he didn't write anything in there. What he did write was about the miracles. That was abnormal. What he did write about was what he was preaching. That was abnormal. What he did write about it, oh, yeah, that was abnormal. But whatever was not abnormal, he didn't have to write it down because the process was ordinary, normal, and usual. And the Bible doesn't have anything to say about it because the process from their culture is just if there was something really weird and mystical and magical and lightning and butterflies, well,
It would have told you, right.
would have been written down. Okay, it would have said something like that for the benefit of the Hebrew audience. Or
Right.
the
It would
Jewish
have said
audience.
something, and the Spirit came upon them and filled them, and they followed Jesus, or something like that.
And all of a sudden they were inundated with all knowledge of the universe and blah blah blah. Yeah, that. Okay, that is whatever. So I want to go back to Matthew. So here we see that the whole idea was not some instantaneous anything, but you had Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God, come and teach a group of misfits, fishermen, which were, you know, right. Hello, I mean, you and me, we shared prison together. Come on, man, misfits, brah. All right, so normal people who are real and genuine, and then taught them, developed a relationship with them, and discipled them, proselytized them. All right. So what does it mean to follow him now? The same thing it meant to follow him then. Because I want to read a passage of what he was saying, what Jesus told when he sent out the 12. Okay, remember when he says, "I'm going to send out the 12, and you're going to go here and you're going to go there." Okay. And I want to go start in chapter 10, and I'm just going to start on verse 16. Okay, 10 verse 16. I'm going to read this, but this is kind of a good idea of what's going on. Okay, because we know, first of all, Jesus says, deny yourself, pick up your cross, follow me. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, there's a lot of words in those three statements. Okay? 16, he's telling his disciples, he says, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes, innocent as doves. Be on your guard. Listen, you will be handed over to the local councils and flogged in the synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, not if, when they arrest you, don't worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you'll be given what to say. Won't be you speaking, Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. He's talking about the separation between the witness to and the, okay. Children will against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of me. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. Truly, I tell you, you will not finish going through the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. The student is not above the teacher, and the servant's not above his master. It is enough for students to be like their teacher and servants like their masters. If the head of the house has been called Beelzebul, how much more the members of the household? So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. Okay, so here we go. Let's jump down to 34. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. We're talking about division now. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Listen to this. 37, anyone who loves their family or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
That's hard right there.
And follow me is not worthy of me. Hold up. Anyone who loves their father, mother, sister, brother, children, any of their family, anyone that loves them less or more than Jesus, not only can't follow him, Not only can't be his disciple, he's not even worthy. Really? You're not even worthy, dude. Whoever finds their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Whoever will save their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake and the gospel's will find it. Pick up your cross. Deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me. And then it says, whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy. What is a cross? What is the cross right here? What is the cross?
It's your burdens.
There's one thing a cross does. One thing, kills. What's cross do? Kills. It doesn't teach. It doesn't help. It doesn't cleanse. The cross is a tool. It's a tool.
In other words, he's saying, hey, be willing to die.
Yeah. No, put yourself to death right now. Paul, crucify that old man daily. That's what I'm talking about. In other words, this life that you have, okay, here we go. Is desire enough, or do you have to have full dedication? Okay. Here was a thing. There was okay, so let's say that a dude finds this beautiful girl, young man, and she's smart, she's funny, she's wholesome, she's this, she's that, and everything, and he's really excited about proposing, and then all of a sudden he says, "Oh, excuse me," he says, "Hey." He says, "Would you marry me?" And she's, of course, oh my God, we're elated with joy. Yes, I'll marry you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did this. I'll keep a great home. I gotta get one of these Bibles off my lap. Okay. I will give you, I'll keep the house clean. I'll cook you dinner. I'll blah, 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 blah. And so this is the great thing. I'll make a wonderful wife. And she says, but of course, I do have other boyfriends, so I want to date them from time to time.
Oh, no. No.
Well, no, and of course the dude's going to have a problem with it. It's like, no, no, what? No, I can't do this. What are you thinking? So she's like, okay, well, we'll compromise. One day of the year, I'll devote myself to you 364 days a year, and the one day a year, I want one good fling with a boyfriend because I don't want to give up all that. I like guys.
No.
And he's like devastated, and she's devastated, and she's like, well, I want to be faithful. I want to be loyal to you, but I just can't. I just got this itch.
Man, can I just say that we have so many people that you are describing like that in the church these days? So many people who call themselves Christians who are just, that perfectly describes them right there, Robert.
Okay, how about more about this world right now? What about, you know what? It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle. Rich man going to heaven. That rich young ruler. We know the story about the rich young ruler, don't we? You know, do you remember that story? I tell you what. Let me see if we got this right. So we've got this rich young ruler. Means he's probably a ruler over a synagogue or something. He's got a lot of money, so he's probably got a Bentley chariot, right? He's got Armani cloak or whatever they wear. He's got a Rolex, sundial, I guess. And he's got bling and this, and of course he probably steps out of his chariot and he walks up. Oh, good teacher, looking down his nose at him and says, what do I do to inherit eternal life? No, that's not how it went. It says he ran, and then fell on his knees in front of Jesus. First of all, a ruler doesn't do anything. He has everybody else do it for him. Second of all, you're not going to run. Third of all, you ain't kneeling to no man. And fourth of all, this is just wrong. Fifth of, no, it ain't happening. Get the idea? He ran up to him, threw himself down on his knees, and said, what I got to do to inherit eternal life? And of course, Jesus knew what was going on. He says, well, I mean, don't bear false witness, and, don't commit adultery, don't murder, honor your mother and father. And he's going through some of the 10 commandments that have the relational aspect to other people, right? But he leaves out the commandments of, the relationship with God. So, and he's like, yeah, I've been doing this since my youth. I mean, I'm a synagogue ruler. Yeah. He's like, okay, well, the only thing that you really need to do now is go sell all your stuff, give to the poor, and then you can follow me. And then all of a sudden, dude was quiet because you can't have any gods before him. You can't have any idols. You see, there was something standing in the way before him and this rich young ruler. And that thing in front of him was an idol that you can't do that. Money. You can't have that. How many people do we know about that today? It's the same thing. It's just not going to happen. So, but, I left this one because one thing Jesus said, he looked at him, he loved him. This is in Mark 10. Good teacher, why do you call me good? No one's good except God. Okay, so he looked at him and loved him. And then he says, one thing you lack, go sell everything you have and give to the poor, and then you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. Wow, that's not a real good way to build up your congregation in your church now, is it? I mean, with one stroke of this guy's pen, he could have underwritten the entire youth camp funds for a year. He could have paid off the church. He could have done this. Why couldn't he have given him one of the Proverbs, that Solomon wrote that says, hey, when you lend to the poor, you're lending or borrowing, for God and this and that and the other thing. And it's just, you see what I mean? Why can't you make a little thing about, well, you're investing in kingdom and this and this and that? It's still not going to work. You know what I mean? It just
that kind of goes against all the little prosperity, preaching out there, which I'm not against. God does prosper his people. Look at David, look at Solomon. He does do that thing, but that shouldn't be the thing that stands between you and God. That shouldn't be the reason why you're serving God. You should be able to be the poor man that lives in his car and still serve God, and you should also be able to be the rich man who's living in a mansion and still be able to serve God.
Right. That's right.
That's right. Paul said, I have had plenty, I have had nothing, and I have learned to be content with both.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But right now, and then of course he goes on, he says how hard it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom, chapter 10 still. And it is rough. But this guy had a problem because it was an idol in front of him. Now, how many people do we have that want to become disciples? Do we have something in the way? Because we're not going to give up our pet sin. We're not going to give up this. Struggling with something, I understand that. But seeing that you're going to keep it and you're just not going to give it up or even try, you see, that's kind of a different deal. And if you do not pick up your cross, which means you kill yourself daily, you carry your cross. You must die to yourself. You must deny yourself and live solely for his purpose. Do you get it? Whoever would save his life is going to lose it. If you want to live your life with your own aspirations and how you think you need to live it, in this world, I'm going to get mine. Or are you going to give your life 100% totally to him and live by his aspirations, what he tells you to do, give up the things that you really, really want, and do him by carrying that cross, by giving that to, we can't, okay, first of all, we can't kill ourselves. Well, I mean, we can, but we have a self-preservation instinct inside of most of us. It's hard to kill ourselves. We can't do that. That's why Jesus says, take that cross with you. That's a tool. All that cross does is kill. That's a tool to kill. You take that cross. You can't use it. You come to me because I already went there and I'll tell you how. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Give it up. And you're the one that's actually going to live eternally because you just saved your life. You just found your life. Right? It's like, wow, man. Okay. So Jesus has the power to let you utilize that tool. But you must deny yourself, you must die to self, and you must pick up your cross and go. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of me. The way I look at it is like, what are you finding your purpose in? Sounds to me like the rich man found his purpose in his riches, and versus finding your purpose in the Lord by following Him and doing what He called us to do. And yeah, that means giving up a lot of the things you used to do, losing friends, losing family, not hanging around the same people that you used to, not going to the same bars and the same clubs that you used to, unless you're going there to preach the gospel.
You know, the really part about this is we become disciples the same way that I just described how Jesus picked. We can't all of a sudden just stop everything that we're doing. We can't all of a sudden just do everything in a blink of an eye. But what we can do is we can let and help Jesus nurture a relationship with us over whatever period of time that He deems necessary, to call you in part-time, to call you in full-time, or to leave you here or to leave you there, have you do this, to nurture a relationship with Him over time, understand what's going on with Him, understand what He wants from you, what He expects from you, what He does for you, and how He fulfills your life in an abundance that you can't describe unless you do this, unless you experience it yourself. Jesus doesn't want blind followers. In the Gospel of Luke, He says, hey, you need to sit down. You got a king over here you're trying to conquer. He's got 30,000 soldiers. You got 10,000. You might want to think about that. You might want to send out some dignitaries. Hey, by the way, you started that nice little tower. Oh, got enough bricks and material to finish that? Do you? Oh, you might want to figure out what you're getting into before you get into it. He doesn't want you to follow Him unless you go and find out what it takes to follow Him. Use your head, see what you're getting into it, and then start nurturing a relationship with Him. Be wise about it. Don't be blind. Just start a relationship. Go for it.
And you know, that also makes me think, you know, how many people have not come to Christ because of those people who, like you said, didn't count the cost before getting in, and then so they got in and then fell away. And then how many other people would be saved today if it wasn't for those people, you know?
Right. But that's pretty much it, though. Same thing as He did in the New Testament. Develop, start, culture, relationship. Everything else goes from there because it's in His hands.
Amen.
That's it.
Hey, this has been great, Robert. It was a great teaching, great lesson, and we appreciate it, and we thank you. And we hope to do very many more of these with you.
Okay.
Like to do it more regular than what we have. We keep talking about we're going to do it more regular, but it's kind of hard to get our two schedules together, isn't it?
It is. I got a lot going on at church and work as well. So yeah, it is kind of rough.
Yeah, and you had started a new job. I was hoping when you started the new job, maybe our schedules would match a little bit, but it doesn't seem like it does.
It'll be better. So
okay. Well, I guess that's it for today. Is there anything else you want to say before we say goodbye to the people?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll thank you again. And here's the bridegroom. Come on out to meet him.